Welcome back, Mariners. This is Chapter 10, Place and Hospitality Marketing Location. At the most basic level, companies must decide on the area in which they'll locate their units as they expand. Concentrating in a certain region and expanding their territory gradually into neighborhooding areas allows a company to benefit from their reputation and customer base of established operations. When you move into a new market, you essentially start over at the introduction stage of the product life cycle for that area. This was the case, for example, when a company as well known as Holiday Inn first entered into the US West Coast market. Now, one strategy that we're going to talk about is clustering. Clustering is when you locate several units in the same geographic area. One of the problems that you're going to come across is that cannibalization can occur. Cannibalization is where one of your locations is stealing customers from one of the other locations also in the same area. Another thing to consider is what kind of location type are you looking at? Are you looking at a freestanding location, or are you going to be looking at other locations such as in malls and office buildings or other hosts for your points of distribution? The move into host locations results from several different factors. It could be that the number of available freestanding locations is limited, and that many of the best locations are simply already taken. When you have limited availability of freestanding sites, not only does it mean that there's difficulty in obtaining desirable sites, but also indicates a substantially higher cost for those freestanding sites. Venues provided by shopping malls and retail stores are expensive, however, they are not overpriced when considering the volume that they may be able to deliver. As we talked about in Chapter 8, co-location involves putting two or more non-competitive concepts in one location, such as putting a McDonald's in a gas station. McDonald's also has similar alliance with, Chevron and Amoco. Chevron's Food Mart, where it's a convenience store, where they're competing, but they're not really. Alliance between food service chains and oil companies are particularly attractive because service stations often control prime real estate, and stations near highways bring travelers who are usually looking for a quick bite to eat. When a restaurant is co-located with another retailer, it benefits from the traffic the other retailer generates, and likewise, the retailer benefits from the traffic that the restaurant is going to generate as well. Now, to determine whether it's a funnel location or a magnet, it's really easy to think about. A funnel location is going to be where there's a huge cluster of, for instance, quick service restaurants. The water's going to go through there. People are going to go there and they might choose you or one of the other locations. However, if you're a magnet, you're out of the way. People have to make an effort to get to you. Once a broad outline of a location strategy is established, special effort is needed to analyze specific location decisions, which include a location decision as well as a site decision. For example, a company may make a location decision to expand into a general part of the city, such as a neighborhood or a new mall or office park, or on a particular side of town. Now, once that decision is made to locate in an area, a site decision, which involves the selection of a particular piece of land, is required. Usually, several sites are evaluated before a final location will be determined. A restaurant location is best evaluated in terms of the potential demand it can generate and the access it provides to the customers. A trading area is the geographic area containing 70 to 75% of the customers of a business. In an existing unit, the trading area is determined from the operations patronage records. In a new unit, the trading area must be estimated based on the sales volumes at other operations in that region. The performance of other units in similar locations or responses to questionnaires or interviews with prospective customers. When the proposed operation is part of the chain, this data is much easier to come by. When a trading area is identified, its population characteristics, the density, demographics, psychographics, are all studied in depth. A densely populated area is generally preferred, simply because the more people in an area, the higher demand for dining out operations. Although population density is key for quick service restaurants and other popularly priced operations, the demographics of that population are also important. For example, the presence of families with children would be a highly favorable factor for some operations, but less important for others. For an independent fine dining operation, the population density would be less significant than the income statistics for that area, because the operator is not interested in everybody in the trading area, but only selected market segments. A market analysis must consider the current as well as the future market situation. The analysis should project population growth for the area and estimate the size of the total population and market segments for the next 5 years. Paramount to the success of any location is the access it offers to an operation's target populations. Now, although population in the immediate area is important to many operations, access for people via roadways or other transportation is often even more important. Any changes planned for the roadways should be identified and evaluated to assess the potential impact of such changes. Driving time from the center of the population is a commonly used measure of the convenience of a location. Driving time is affected by the quality of the road system leading to the site, as well as any physical barriers between the site and the population center. The impact of any physical or social barriers on traffic should also be evaluated. Physical barriers include factors such as unbridged rivers or large bodies of water, as well as mountains and freeways that do not have convenient crossings. Social barriers include industrial districts, areas with congested traffic, unsafe neighborhoods, rundown communities, and surprisingly, extremely affluent subdivisions. As mentioned above, the distance from a population center is a good proxy or indirect measure in determining the convenience to your location. However, it should be kept in mind that an acceptable distance is defined differently for different types of operations. For example, most convenience stores serve a trading area within a radius of 1/4 mile to 1 mile, whereas quick service restaurants may draw residents from a radius of 1 to 1.5 miles. Casual dining concepts usually have a trading area of approximately 3 to 5 miles, and fine dining concepts usually have the pull as far away as 20 miles or more. Local traffic is the volume of traffic in that area of a particular interest to QSRs and other mass market operations. In downtowns and other highly congested areas, pedestrian rather than vehicular traffic can be a significant measure. In general, the more traffic and the greater the traffic flow, the better the location for the popularly priced restaurants. For upscale restaurants, however, the right type of traffic, including individuals who are willing and able to pay for the fine dining on a regular basis, is more important. There are some other sources of business that you need to consider. In many locations, non-residential sources of businesses provide most store traffic. For examples, office and plants, theaters, schools, colleges, universities, medical facilities have large number of employees who are potential customers and also draw a significant volume of visitors. Restaurants near tourist attractions obviously depend on tourists as their major source of business. In central business districts or shopping centers, retail store employees and customers are the major source of traffic. The gravity model represents perhaps the leading academic theory of location analysis. The model estimates the probability of consumers patronizing a retail area by considering the size of the shopping area, travel time for consumers to reach that center, and the impact of travel time on a patronage at the particular kind of shopping center. Generally, the larger the center, the greater the variety of goods offered, and the shorter the distance from the consumers' homes, the greater the likelihood of patronage. Retail sales volume in the center, therefore, is positively related to the pull of the shopping area, reflected in the size and variety of the goods and its proximity to customers. The term inbound bias indicates that shoppers gravitate towards centers of retail activity. The location between centers of population and a shopping center that serves as a gravity pull has the significant advantage of being able to be along the traffic flow. One last thing to talk about here is the competition. The presence of competition in a neighborhood is often a favorable indicator. Restaurant rows are a testimony to the fact that a good central location can support several restaurants. However, the presence of several restaurants in an area will increase the draw of food service traffic to that area, much like the gravity of a large retail shopping center as discussed earlier. As a starting point in your site analysis, the traffic patterns that are considered in general earlier during location analysis must be reviewed again. This time, the traffic patterns should be evaluated based on a specific piece of property. Factors to be considered include traffic volume, ease of traffic flow, the quality of traffic, the type of traffic desired, the visibility, not just that it's visible when you're just driving right by, but how visible is it coming up on it, etc., as well as the accessibility to it. In this, exposure to traffic is maximized by a corner location such as Site A. Therefore, Site A has excellent visibility as compared with any of the other sites on this figure here. Now, within a strip mall located here, Site C is the most preferred site, followed by Site H. From the perspective of visibility, in addition to visibility, relative visibility is also a significant factor to consider. Now, relative visibility refers to the possibility that the site may technically be visible, yet lost in the clutter of the other buildings and activities in that area. Under these circumstances, we should explore various ways, such as special treatment to the exterior, to make the property stand out from its neighbors. Billboards, directional signs off of the property, and tall signs on the property can greatly enhance the site's visibility. They may, however, be prohibited by local regulations. Therefore, local zoning codes should be investigated to determine signage possibilities. Accessibility is another important site evaluation criteria. Access from the roadway to the site is evaluated on the basis of ease of ingress and egress. Left turn lanes, traffic lights, stop signs are all favorable factors because they facilitate access for left turning traffic. However, if you have a high speed limit and one-way streets, that can negatively impact your accessibility. Greatly congested traffic at the site and access restricted to right-hand turns can also seriously be unfavorable factors. This may be the case for Site B. In evaluating Site A, care should be taken to ensure that traffic from the north, east, and south sides of the site can easily turn into the property. Access to the parking lot from both the north and east sides of the property could greatly enhance their accessibility. Just as important as visibility and accessibility is the adequate size of the lot itself. It needs to be able to provide room for both the building and the necessary parking, which is crucial. The lack of parking facilities may be viewed as a barrier and therefore discourage visits to the operation. Many operations in downtowns and near college campuses face this problem and have limited appeal to people beyond walking distance. The cost of a site is also a significant factor. Demand for prime real estate is strong, and with many good locations already taken, real estate prices continue to escalate. Building costs for restaurants have risen as well. Therefore, fixed asset requirements, including land and other capital costs, must be reviewed along with the operation's forecasted volume to ensure that the planned restaurant will generate the necessary levels of sales and profits to succeed. The land use in the surrounding areas should also be examined. Existing activities in that area can often serve as a magnet for traffic, and is the case for a theater, or can be a distinct disadvantage, as is the case of a factory or other activities that pollute the immediate environment with odors, excessive noise, or just a plain ugly appearance. A final factor is the site terrain, whether it presents problems for the building and required parking lot. Now, given the complexity of location and site analysis, it's not surprising that most restaurant chains have real estate departments that specialize in the analysis and acquisition of land for the company's use. Location and site analysis for hotels have many similarities to those required for restaurants. However, there are some fundamental differences. First, a feasibility study is conducted to support a hotel construction decision. The decision is more concerned with the overall financial picture of a proposed property than is typically the case with a restaurant. Because a hotel investment decision is very capital intensive, the feasibility study must consider not only the total project cost, but also the financial structure of the project and the tax implications of the project's profit and loss based on the owner's total investment portfolio. Second, a developer looks at a larger service area than a typical restaurant operation. Most hotel locations evaluate the entire community as a market. In larger metropolitan areas, specific sections of cities are evaluated, but those sections are generally much larger than a restaurant's trading area. Although the market analysis is restricted to areas near the project site, guests are expected to come from regions far removed from that site. For resort hotels, conference centers, and convention hotels, a study of demand in distant cities may be conducted. However, for most properties, the demand from other cities is inferred from a study of local demand generators and attractions. Demand can also be estimated based on the number of rooms occupied in local hotels and motels. The content of a hotel feasibility study includes a site evaluation, market area analysis, a demand analysis, a competitive analysis, facilities and concept recommendations, a forecast of income and expenses, an estimate of total project cost, and other financial analysis. These factors will be discussed in depth next. First, the site evaluation. The size and topography of a site must be assessed to be sure that it is suitable for a proposed project. Surrounding land uses and proximity to major demand generators should also be noted. Similarly, the site's location relative to key highways and interstates should be considered, as should its ease of access for motor vehicle traffic. These characteristics have different levels of importance for different types of lodging operations. For instance, accessibility and visibility are generally more important for operations targeting individual tourists than for properties tailored to business travelers. because individual tourists usually have to find the hotels themselves, whereas business travelers often use public transportation. Proximity to major demand generators such as a convention center or an airport is important to lodging operations that depend on business related to those demand generators. In your market area analysis, trends in the demographic and economic indicators are employed as a basis to support the demand and growth projections. Usually, the history of several indicators is reviewed to identify trends and project visitation. To estimate commercial visitation to the area and meeting and convention volume, the indicators used may include the population, income, retail activities, employment, occupied office space, the traffic, airport passengers and cargo traffic, and area development. A demand analysis is by major market segment, such as commercial, meeting, and vacation segments. Demand can be estimated by two different methods. With the use of a build-up approach, demand is estimated through interviews with people connected to travel generators. These interviews determine the amount of demand each market segment provides on a weekly or monthly basis, along with other important visitor information, such as length of stay, number of people in party, and spending patterns. Another way of estimating demand is by totaling the number of rooms actually occupied in local lodging operations. This information is usually available from local CVBs or by calculating from the room tax figures available from your local government. Demand estimates obtained from the two methods should be compared in order to cross-validate the assessment. Future demand should be forecast based on current demand and projected growth rates, which can be estimated on the basis of economic and demographic factors studied in the market area analysis. Competitive analysis identifies existing and planned properties that compete directly and indirectly with the proposed property. Relevant statistics to review indicate location, number of rooms, the room rate, average occupancy rate, their target markets, what amenities they have, and facilities. The analysis of the competition should be set in the context of the demand in a particular market. Well-qualified competitors, for example, are not as much of an immediate threat in a market that is severely underbuilt as in a market that has excess capacity. A competitive survey should evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of existing competition. The results may be used to argue for a particular kind of facility. It is also important to assess future known and projected additions to the current supply, and determinations should be made on the probability of their being developed. Many projects that are announced are for one reason or another never built. Those that have been granted building permits and have obtained financing, however, are likely to be built. Other things to consider are that revenues are going to be forecasted on the basis of demand projection and competitive analysis. Expenses will be calculated on the basis of the facilities, services, and occupancy level projected. Profit is then going to be determined by subtracting your expenses from your revenue. Typically, the minimum life for a viable hotel is 30 years. Therefore, the entire project involves judgments that go beyond a typical marketing study. It is important to appreciate the degree to which a hotel feasibility study relies on estimates. The judgment of interviewers as to the meaning of various statements and the judgment of the feasibility study authors on the extent and interpretations of trends. Because of the use of these informed judgments, location decisions in the hotel industry are somewhat less precise than those for food service operations. Actually, Feasibility studies are commonly used internally to confirm management's prior decisions on a proposed location. However, a study's use as a confirmation of decisions that has already been made by senior management is not the intent and proper use of the study and is open to question. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Again, this was the class lecture on Chapter 10 for Marketing Hospitality, 3rd edition, lecture done by me, Matt Mosley. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to message us on YouTube. If you are one of my students, email or call. Thank you.